Okay, so we have the ingredients here. So this is a flour the flour we talked about. The protein content like 11.3% and ash content of 0.34%. By the way, this is very low ash. And the water like 35% hydration ratio, but like this. So this is basically the water itself is 33%. And cansi and salt, 1% each. That's to the weight of flour. And this is 4 kilograms. This is 4 kilograms because the mixture we're gonna make dough in is the minimum batch of that is 4 kilograms. So it's 4 kilograms. So 4 kilograms and then 33% to the 4 kilograms, 1%, 4 kilograms. That's 40 grams each. Okay, let's start making noodles. So this is our kind of starting entry level like noodle making machines called Richmond One machine. This is the all-in-one noodle machine that you can make fresh noodles from scratch. And it's got a mixer, 10 kilograms mixer, and so the minimum batch is 4. Like you can mix up to like 10 kilograms of solid ingredients, and on top of that you're adding liquid to it. So you can make up to about in serving size maybe like 100 per hour, 100 per hour, 100 servings per hour. And 100 servings in terms of weight, it's about like 13 to like 14 kilograms of noodles. And so she's dissolving the cansi and salt to the water. So you got to dissolve like really stir it really well to make sure that they are dissolved in water thoroughly. So we just mix it about like 1 minute to get some like air into the flour particles and then like break the chunks of flour to small pieces. And then she's adding then roughly like 2/3 of the liquid first onto the lid, which has like small holes, so that like this liquid like kind of drips through the holes to be added to the flour little by little. Because we're trying to achieve like a really good hydration of dough in this mixing. So we don't want to add all the water like at once, but like a little like rough sheet of dough. And this machine has a set of rollers that flattens basically this dough. And so we're basically feeding this dough into these rollers to make a rough sheet of dough. And the roller gap, so you can set the roller gap like kind of freely. And for this dough, this hydration ratio, the roller gap we set is 1.5 millimeter. So the dough is coming out from the other end of the machine, and so it just like winds automatically by itself, like, and so we just like keep feeding the dough to the rollers to make rough sheet of dough. So this hydration ratio, the level, so we basically like categorize ramen noodles by hydration ratio level, hydration ratio, and so this type of dough noodle is called medium hydration ratio noodles, and which is like basically like between like 31% to 30, like up to like 40%, and 30% for example, like 30% means 30% of the weight of flour. So if you're doing like 10 kilograms of solid ingredients per batch, then you're adding 3 kilograms of liquid to it. So that's what the 30% hydration ratio means. So you're getting 13 kilograms of noodles in this case. And low hydration ratio noodle is basically like hard noodle, and basically hard on thin noodle, and it's like that's like less than like between like 25% and to 30%. So for in that kind of dough, the dough size is like a lot smaller. It's even like it's almost like a powder. It's still like a powder, like wet powder. And high hydration ratio noodle is over 40%, and that's usually used for like tsukemen or dipping noodles, like udon or maybe like soba too. So like if you make like high hydration ratio noodles, then the size of those like a lot bigger and then a lot wetter. So she's adding the rest of the liquid and mix it for the rest of the minutes and like 6 minutes. So this is a rough sheet of dough, and the next process we call compounding process. So you're basically like separating this dough into two sheets, and then combining like these two sheets through the rollers. So each sheet is 1.5 millimeter in thickness, supposedly, and so by combining them, the equivalent of 3 millimeter dough sheet is going through the roller, and we don't want to thin it all at once because like that's gonna damage the gluten structure inside dough. So we usually reduce the dough size by 70%, and so 3 millimeter times like 70%, like 2.1 millimeter, and then we're gonna run it off to 2.0 millimeter, just for the to make it simple. And so after you do this combining process, the dough is like firmer and basically stronger. And we are going very, very slow in this rolling process because we want to apply very good pressure, like for the first rounds of sheeting. So this hydration ratio, like dough, I mean the noodles that like belong to this hydration ratio, like a medium hydration ratio, are used for, yes, basically like Shio Ramen noodles and many types of like ramen. Actually, the Shio Ramen noodles, Shoyu Ramen noodles, and then even like miso ramen as well. But like kind of changing the hydration ratio by like 1%, like 2%, change the noodle texture like dramatically. So, so the hydration ratio like is very important. Like, so it's you need to like adjust it like, and then the higher the temperature of the like room where you make noodles, the sort of like the more more active like the water that you add to the flour is. So it's like in the summer, right? In the summer, like when it's hot, like it's like you need to reduce the amount of water to have like same quality of noodles, because in the summer, like when it's hot, the water activity is like bigger, so you need to like reduce the amount of water to have the same. But like in the winter, like when it's cold, the water activity is less, so you need to increase the amount of water you add to the flour to have the same like noodle texture, noodle texture. And then so after first combining, we usually do like 1 to twice this combining process. And then, so this is the second time. And then after that, after the second combining process, like we'll just thin it. And so she started the dusting it to keep it from sticking. And so each the dough, each sheet of dough is 2 millimeter in thickness. So that's compounding, right? So 2 plus 2, 4 millimeter, and applying that rule of 70% rule. So 4 times 0.7, 2.8, rounding off to 3.0. So she set that roller gap to 3 millimeter. And so you have to, like for this type of, for this hydration ratio, the amount of dusting is about this much. But like if you're making higher hydration ratio noodle, like you have to dust more to prevent it from sticking. So after the combining process, so all we have to do is just thin it to the final thickness. But like again, like we can't thin it drastically all at once, so we need to apply this again, like 70% rule. So that was 3 times 0.7, 2.1, rounding off to 2.0. So your mixing is done. So after this, right? I mean, we can go faster because the gluten structure is complete, and so we can just go faster and roll it, thin it. So that was 2 millimeter, and so next like 2 times 0.7, that's 1.5, and yes, thin it. And so the next round, we're cutting it. We're cutting it, and so we want to have this final size. Like, if you guys remember the size of the noodles that we talked about, so that's like 1.4 millimeter in width and a 1.2 millimeter in thickness. So the thickness is determined by the roller gap, and the final thickness, to get the final thickness right, we need to do a bit of a calculation, because the actual thickness of dough is always bigger than the roller gap we set, because the dough is basically bounces back like after it's gone through the rollers, and it's always bigger, right? So we need to measure the thickness to see what the difference is between actual thickness and the roller gap. So the actual thickness is like 2.1 millimeter. So there's a difference of like 0.6 millimeter, and then so So this dough like bounces back like by 0.6. To get to 1.2 millimeter, then we should set the roller gap to like 0.6, so that we expect that thickness to expand back by 0.6, right? So 0.6 plus 0.6, that's 1.2. So then we set the roller gap to 0.6 millimeter. And this is the kind of cutter we use. And so that it's like a kind of paper shredder, and then dough gets inserted between the sliter, and it comes out, noodle strands on the other side. So we set the cutter and then start cutting. So we also set in conveyor. So the portion size, so like really it's up to you. And typically like the Shio Ramen, the serving size may be like around 110 to 100, maybe like up to like maybe 30 grams in like fresh noodles. And so yes, but like it's up to you. So like you can just set your own serving size. And so that's how ramen noodles for Shio Ramen are made from scratch.
My name is Thomas. I'm one of the instructor at the Yamato Noodle School. And today the topic is Shio Ramen, so let me talk about Shio Ramen for a bit. So first of all, what is Shio Ramen? So Shio Ramen is pretty much ramen seasoned with salt motodare. So salt motodare, it doesn't have overwhelming seasoning like soy sauce or miso. So the motodare is very simple. So the flavor is, I would say Shio Ramen is very simple and basic. And because the salt motodare is simple, it brings out the flavor of the stock. It amplifies the flavor of the stock. And some people say that you can judge the quality of the ramen shop by having their Shio Ramen, because it doesn't have overwhelming seasoning like soy sauce or miso. You can directly taste the stock, and the stock is one of the most important element of a bowl of ramen. So you can judge the quality of the ramen shop by tasting their Shio Ramen. So Shio Ramen is a very important menu in your for your ramen shop. Okay, so next I want to talk about the type of salt. First of all, there's three different types of salt. First one is refined salt. This is pretty much table salt. And table salt is very highly refined. So all the minerals and nutrients are removed, which makes the salt very salty, and it doesn't have any other taste other than the saltiness. And the next one is sea salt. And sea salt is made by evaporating seawater. So it retains the minerals and nutrients, which gives like other flavor other than the saltiness, so which makes the salt complex flavor. And the third one, rock salt. For example, pink Himalayan salt. This is an example of a rock salt. And rock salt is extracted from underground salt mine. And because rock salt is very dense and concentrated, it's hard to dissolve, and it has a very strong salt taste, which makes it great for seasoning protein. For example, when you're grilling steak, Himalayan salt is perfect. But for ramen, sea salt is the salt to go for because it has other new minerals and nutrients, which makes the flavor more complex. Because salt is very simple, it's not like soy sauce or miso. You want to make it complex tasting as much as possible by using sea salt. And we recommend using few different types of sea salt rather than using one because each type of sea salt has different types of minerals and nutrients. So by blending few different types of sea salt, it's going to make the flavor even more complex and flavorful. Okay. So next I want to talk about the type of Shio Ramen. So there's many different types of Shio Ramen in Japan, and you can break up in the types of Shio Ramen into two groups. One is regional. For example, Hakodate Shio Ramen. This is a region in Hokkaido, and this area is famous for their seafood. So Hakodate Shio Ramen uses a lot of seafood in their ramen. And the second type is stock type. So this type of Shio Ramen differs by the type of stock. For example, Tori Shio Ramen. Tori means chicken, so chicken Shio Ramen. For example, snapper Shio Ramen, and another type is clam Shio Ramen, and which is very popular right now in Japan. And also, many people don't know that tonkotsu ramen is Shio Ramen, because people think that tonkotsu ramen is a part of one of the flavor. For example, soy sauce, miso, salt, and tonkotsu. People think tonkotsu is one of the flavor, but actually it's just the type of stock, and it's actually flavored with salt motodare. So tonkotsu ramen is actually Shio Ramen. So that's one info about Shio Ramen. And now I want to talk about the 5 elements of Shio Ramen. First, stock. For Shio Ramen, one of the type of stock that can be used is clear or cloudy, so slightly emulsified chicken stock. Or second one, pork stock. And the third one is seafood stock. And seafood stock can be dry seafood stock, for example, dried kelp, dried bonito, or fish bone stock. So, for example, snapper and salmon. After filleting a snapper or salmon, you're going to be left with fish bone, and people make stock out of the fish bone as well. And lastly, clam, which is very popular right now in Japan. Okay, next, flavoring sauce. And for the flavoring sauce is salt motodare, and this makes up the taste of Shio Ramen. In a motodare, there is a whole bunch of ingredients in motodare. It's not just salt. So, for example, mirin, sweet rice sake, and a little bit of soy sauce, so it doesn't change the color, just a little bit. And also dried ingredients like dried kelp or sardines for the umami. And for the flavored oil, the oil itself, chicken oil, pork fat, vegetable oil is often used. And to flavor those type of oil, garlic, ginger, leek, dry fish powder is often used to flavor the oil. And for the type of noodle, for Shio Ramen, thin, straight, or wavy noodle is often used. It pairs up very nicely with the Shio Ramen stock. And for the toppings, citrus is often used for topping for Shio Ramen. For example, yuzu, lemon, or lime, or it can be anything. It just freshens up the taste of the Shio Ramen. And chashu, soft-boiled egg, bamboo shoot, leek, green onion, seaweed, and bean sprouts is often used for Shio Ramen. Okay. And today, for the example of Shio Ramen, I'm going to make Hakodate Shio Ramen, and I'm going to make Tori Shio Ramen. And I'm going to start off from making the Tori Shio Ramen. Sorry, before getting into the cooking part, I want to talk about our method of ramen making. Our way is a little bit unique because, like I said, in a motodare, whole bunch of ingredients are used to make the motodare, and the recipe is often secret. And what we do is we take each ingredients used for the motodare and we prepare them separately. For example, this soy sauce is prepared with some scallops, which has some scallop umami in the soy sauce. And this one is prepared with shiitake mushrooms. So this soy sauce has some shiitake umami in it. And this salt motodare is prepared with kombu, kelp. So it has kelp umami in this salt motodare. And this is miso motodare. And this is heated mirin. And think of these as a parts of motodare. And what the students will do is that they take these parts of this motodare and blend them up into their own preference. And what they do is that while they're blending the motodare, they measure how much of each part of motodare they put in. So once the bowl of ramen is complete, they're going to have their own original recipe. And we do this, we use this method because it allows a student to make their own original taste. And also, not just learning one type of ramen, you learn how to blend all these parts of motodare so you can make any type of ramen. Okay? And same goes for the flavored oil as well. This one is garlic oil. And this one is chicken oil, chili oil, and this is black garlic oil, often used for tonkotsu ramen. And these are also parts for flavored oil. So the students blend these flavored oil together to make their own original blend. So that's how we make our ramen. And if you're interested in how to make these motodare or flavored oil, please consider a ramen school. But for people that can't come to a ramen school at the moment, we have these textbooks. We use these textbooks at our ramen school and talks about how to make the stock, motodare, and flavored oil, and some toppings as well. And if you're interested in these textbooks, please contact us through our website. And yeah, we will reply to your message. Okay, so let's get going to the cooking part. I'm going to start off with the Tori Shio Ramen, so chicken Shio Ramen. Okay, so first thing I want to do is I'm going to heat up the stock. This stock is a mixture of chicken stock and fish stock. So let's heat this up. Okay. And next, so this is salt motodare. Okay. And this is a mixture of all those parts of motodare over there. Okay. So this is pre-blended. So I'm just going to take one scoop and put it into the bowl. And this is a chicken oil-based flavored oil. And I'm going to take one scoop of this flavored oil as well. And for the noodles, we're going to use this thin, straight noodles. which has some whole wheat in it. You can see some whole wheat in these noodles. Okay. And we're going to boil these noodles in this rapidly boiling water for 40 seconds. Okay. And after putting in the noodles, make sure to mix for 5 or 10 seconds. Okay, while the noodles are cooking, I'm going to pour in the stock into the bowl. So I'm going to take 1 full scoop of this fish and chicken stock and into the bowl. And the noodles should be ready soon. Okay. And make sure to strain out this water completely. This is going to dilute the soup. Okay. And I'm going to put the noodles into the soup and want to line up the noodles nicely. And for the toppings, we have chicken chashu, and for the toppings, we have chicken chashu. And I wrapped them up so it's nice and round. Chicken thigh chashu. I'm just going to place it in the front. And next, menma, bamboo shoots in the back, and soft-boiled egg on the back as well. And this is mizuna leaves in the back. In the middle, I'm going to put some thinly sliced leek in the middle. And mitsuba leaf on top for the green. And also some yuzu skin on top. It's going to give a nice fresh aroma to the ramen, yuzu, and it can be lime or it can be lemon as well. So that's how to make tori Shio Ramen. Okay, next I'm going to make Hakodate seafood Shio Ramen. So first thing I want to do is I have clam, prawn, scallop, and squid. So I'm going to cook these seafood in the stock for a little bit, just a little bit. I don't want to overcook them, but I just want to extract a little bit of the seafood umami into the stock. Okay, and next, motodare and flavored oil. I'm going to use the same motodare. Salt-based motodare, 1 scoop. And for the flavored oil, this is a pork fat-based flavored oil. So I'm just going to take 1 scoop of this. And for this Hakodate Shio Ramen, I'm going to use this thin, wavy noodles. And I'm going to cook these for 1 minute. And make sure to mix for the first 5 or 10 seconds. Okay, the stock is boiling, so I'm going to pour in the stock into the bowl. I'm going to leave the toppings in the pot. Okay, the noodles are ready. The boiling time was 1 minute. Make sure to strain out the water completely. Okay. And into the bowl. And I'm going to line up the noodles. And for the toppings, I have sous vide chicken chashu, prawn, squid, scallops, and some clam. And it goes really well with wakame, seaweed. So I'm going to put some wakame and bamboo shoots. And of course, soft-boiled egg. And lastly, thinly sliced leek. And also, so this is how to prepare your Hakodate Shio Ramen. Okay, so we have some questions. First one. So is high protein flour low in viscosity and low protein flour high in viscosity? It doesn't necessarily mean the amount of protein doesn't relate with how the viscosity of the flour. So there are high viscosity flour with high protein content, and there are also low viscosity flour with low protein content. Okay, next one. Water for kansi mixed is room temperature or fridge temperature? I recommend using room temperature because cold kansi water, it's going to make the dough a little bit too dry. And when you use hot kansi water, it's going to make the dough a little bit too sticky. So room temperature is the best.